special last quarter there. What do you think sparked the turnaround there?
Oh, I think we were building a little bit of that energy through the third quarter. Outside of the first, 5-6 minutes of the third quarter, you have 3 goals kicked against you in the first part. You could have been forgiven for sort of saying that's enough. But gradually, sort of over the course of that quarter, we started to, find the way we wanted to be able to play. We owned the ball a little bit more, got a bit more territory, got a bit better field position. But it was just such a supply question at the start. I mean, we were up against it for supply. They were dominating clearances. They were getting midfield turnovers. So we were sort of really playing everything from our back half and not doing it as well as what we normally would. So that's credit to Gold Coast and the way that they played. But to come out after half time and make those subtle adjustments and for the players to sort of embrace the way we wanted to play that second half, and I guess eventually the sort of momentum started to fall our way, and then that's what ends up carrying you. The momentum ends up carrying you. So little bits and pieces. It was throughout the game, but clearly finishing off the quarter, never give up attitude. I think that's been a real trademark of ours over the last couple of weeks. Is we're seeing the season out strong. It's what Seth said we'd do. I'm really pleased the players have bought into it. There's good energy in the locker room, and we'll see out the season as strong as we can.
Did you take some confidence out of that last quarter into the last 2 games of the season, and then obviously into next season as well?
Yeah, it can, because every time you get to see the way you want to play and the guys getting confidence off that and the energy in behind it. I mean, finishing off the game the way we did too, it was just nice to feel the energy of that stadium, and I guess that small almost moment of hope, or those few moments of hope that we were coming pretty fast. Still plenty of time on the clock. But like as most games do, they come down to moments, and they take a couple of theirs, and we didn't take a couple of ours, and that's what ends up being the margin in the end.
Francis Evans obviously had taken the scenic route to get to where he is in his AFL career, but to put on a performance like that against a pretty quality team must have been rapid.
Yeah, his last 6 weeks, because I include, I guess his form in the VFL as well, before he broke through. He's bounced out of the bye really well, looking like he's playing with really high energy, some class, some good finish, some smarts. It's a hard role, that half forward role. At times you don't get a lot of reward, but he's found a really good balance in his game. So pleased with what he's been able to do, and we saw some individuals tonight that were pretty good as well. Like seeing Harry, the last couple of weeks he's been steadily building as well. I thought he was really impressive tonight. Gave great presence, jumped at the ball. Should have got more free kicks than what he did. Don't know how we missed those particular moments, but he just kept showing up, and so that was great to see. Ollie Hollands, the role he provided. He's still got some things he needs to work in his game, but he's given us great bounce off half back, and from the beginning of the year, it was something we weren't sure whether we'd find out the whole entire year where we'd go with it, and whether he'd end up back on the wing, but we've persisted with that. Cooper Lord had a role in Anderson today, did a great job. He had 12 tackles. He's impacted himself. He's had score involvements. He was against a very, very good player who's leading a lot of things at the moment when it comes to awards. So there's those little things within the game where we had some wins. But clearly we don't walk away with the 4 points. But there's some other things that we can take away from the game.
Just on Lords for a young player like that, was a performance like that do for his confidence going forward?
Very mature young man. There's not a person that's not impressed by his attitude. There's also no one that works harder on his game. He's under the armpit of Cripper and Walsh and Chera, and he doesn't leave him alone because he's just got that appetite to be curious, and every time I talk to him, he's just enormously grateful for the opportunity he gets. So I just asked him, just please never lose that. Throughout your whole career, as it becomes more serious for you, just don't lose those attributes, because it's just such a great attribute to be able to have. So it's a pleasure to coach him, that young man. And as a result, he'll get the most out of his career. But he's taken on these 2 challenges, and I guess the challenges have been thrown to him for him to be able to learn more about his game, and hopefully he can finish off the year that way as well.
You spoke about some individual individual highlights there. Team-wise progression, you wanted to see progression yesterday. What team-wise progressed tonight, do you think?
I thought I think our contest around just the pressure we've been able to build on the opposition over the last couple of weeks has been very good. We finished with a 2.01. The last quarter they were 2.07. So the game was on. So we've been able to get a lot more pressure on the ball than what we have the last little while, and it's put us in better positions on the ground, more powerful positions to be able to launch from. And so that's been a really pleasing part of our game. Yeah, clearly, obviously, we're still in that phase where we're not hitting the scoreboard enough, and that's something that we're just going to have to, obviously spend a pre-season making sure that we impact it a little bit more than what we are now.
You mentioned the umpiring just then. I know it's obviously a hard job, but just generally, what do you think of the state of the umpiring just in general?
No, I don't think that's I don't have an issue at all with the state of umpiring, and far from me to have an opinion on just how hard that job is. They've got a really difficult job, and we'll always sort of sometimes feel like the rub of the green's not necessarily going your way. I felt like there was a couple that we didn't get today, so we'll follow it up. I mean, we've got no problem being able to follow up, and we've got no problem with the correspondence we get back. But there's just a few there today that we'll have to go back and have a look. The free kicks around stoppage, we're probably there. I haven't looked at it close enough, but obviously that's a part of the game that gave them territory in the game, and that made it really hard to be able to build the game out of our back half from there. So as I said, I sort of felt like there was some tools that we could have got a little bit better look at that we didn't. But again, we'll go look at that and go through the right channels and have that discussion where we need to.
Your defenders like to play assertive position, as they call it, playing in front. Do you have to give them a G up or a pat on the back when, unfortunately, sometimes that becomes a step ladder like Lewis Young did at one point tonight with Ben Hinkley?
Yeah, no one likes that, but it was a pretty impressive mark, wasn't it?
Pretty good.
So it was a pretty good mark. I wouldn't go say that Youngie to his face, but but no, it's as you said, like sometimes your method of defence. That's why we love to have pressure on the ball, and why we talk about system, and because we all need it, because we don't want moments like that. But it was an interesting game. It was hard fought early. I mean, we were fighting hard early. It was first half. It was a bit we were muscling it a bit, and then as the game was going on, we sort of was starting to find our way through things, and there was some real highlights at the end. And as a highlighter, there's some real sort of big performances from a few people as well. He's pretty good. He's pretty good. I mean, Witts is a very good ruckman. And we know that Tom's, his real strength is not just his ability to be able to impact in the air, but what he does on the floor. So, it's, again, we're talking about margins here. It was also an opportunity to be able to get Hudson O'Keefe into the team. He went out injured. We felt like he needed another game back in the VFL just to get his eye back in. It's a bit unfair to throw a young man back in after he's missed 5-6 weeks of injury and just expect that he's going to pick where he left off. So he was able to do that, played really well last week, deserved his spot up forward. You saw a couple of beautiful pack marks that he does, and he's going to split a few over his time because he's just tough and he competes, and you love playing with people like that. If he can get more shots on goal, then that's a real win for us as a second ruck. So, no, he's growing really well as well.
You had 7 players, I think, with fewer than 25 games. Is that where the energy came from that you talked about?
I think so, but there's also been, there's been some great energy in the locker room, and I reckon it's been great to be able to see our leaders getting behind that as well. And I guess you probably could be forgiven for the season can peter away and you get much out of it, but what our leaders have seen is an opportunity to be able to sort of give some time to these young guys and give exposure to these guys, and they deserve that opportunity. They've earned the right, and we need to get in behind them and support them. So we've seen some really good examples of that. Clearly, our depth of our list needs to get better. If you're talking about a bigger picture for just a second, our depth needs to get better, and we're going to see it through some of these guys. They'll take positions of older players, and that's when you're really progressing as a footy team. So we're going to invest the time in that. We've been investing it over the last few weeks and growing that out, but it takes a more particular focus over this last month.
Do you have to put your arm around Lockie a bit? He missed two pretty critical etc., especially in the last quarter, could have, I guess, put you even more in the game. I guess.
Yeah, I do, and it's hard for a person to own all of that. That's but there is moments in games, and we share in that. That's not his sole responsibility. We all own the moment, and so I guess for his lesson is just keep backing in your process. Keep backing in what you do, and in those moments, we'll back you in, give you the confidence to be able to finish your plays, and that's what we've got to continue to do. But we've also got to minimise our errors, and sometimes there's a couple of concentration errors that we can have that let oppositions get that goal they shouldn't get, and we let a couple of those tonight. What I was pleased with, though, that even though I had a lot of shots, there was a lot of long shots. So having a lot of shots from probably on the 50-metre area, as my old coach sometimes says, there's sort of a lot of long shots, a lot of long behinds. So I felt like we took away their shot quality for most of the night, and they were just good enough to be able to, though when the game was tight, they were able to finish their moment. So credit to them.
This is obviously the first game since the announcement was made on Thursday. What was the energy like? I mean, now that the clarity's been given for next year at least, was there good energy? Was there a difference? Or no?
Oh, yeah, that's a real hard one for me to answer. That's a genuinely intangible that I can't answer. Maybe in time we can look back and find out what that meant. But I'd really hope that we're building an environment that's somewhat consistent, and we understand there's always things that are going on around us, and there's always a conversation that's going on around us. But yeah, we've got to be mature enough as performers to be able to know what to listen to and what not to. And so I guess what we are trying to do is normalise that and keep it as consistent as we possibly can. And hopefully as a leader, we're turning up to be able to, and as a group of coaches, we're turning up to be there for our players and keep serving our club, and that remains consistent. And I think that's been that way. And to the players' credit, they're bringing energy. They're getting in behind our younger players, and so as a result, you don't get the season you're after, but you walk away with something, and you can walk away with small wins, and that's what we're determined to do.
He played out the game, obviously, and had a good last quarter, but how sore is the skipper after it looked like his shoulder was giving him some grief in the first half?
I think he's okay. I mean, you saw the same vision that I saw, so I'll get a report based on that. But before we activate our sub, I asked the medical teams whether they had any concerns, and no one had any concerns. So I'll sort of take that at face value for now.
Any other injury concerns, perhaps?
No, Gav, no, I don't think so. No, I think we got through pretty clear. So, thank you. Cheers. Thank you.